Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's show is the second True Dogman Encounter sent over by my dear friend and subscriber, Angel. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy this story. Fantastic set of events, and I have to praise Angel's wonderful look on spiritual life and entities and, you know, energies that coexist in our world. And I think a lot of people keep the blinkers on, turn a blind eye to. It's just easier to have that sort of mindset for some people. But I myself, and I think like a lot of you and my listeners, we're aware that there's a lot more to this world than meets the eye. So, without further ado, please do like and share. Of course, please do comment. Let's get into tonight's True Dogman Encounters. I'd like to entitle The Injured Dogman. Let's get straight into that. Hey DMT, it's Angel, and here is a couple of my Dogman encounters. First off, we moved to Smith County, Texas, when I was in high school, 1997, and the neighborhood we moved into just happened to have a cemetery in the very back of it. We first moved in, I didn't know the rumours of the area, just that the news kept saying that our neighbourhood had odd disappearances of pets and not to leave them outside at night. We had no fence and our dog was small, so she was fine during the day, but at night we were not allowed to leave her alone. People assumed it was coyotes or something. The first time I saw the cemetery, my father and I were going fishing, and we drove by and he pointed it out to me. I was intrigued, but nothing more. Then, as school started, I heard rumours of Werewolf Lane Cemetery, but I had no idea it was the cemetery. We lived in an upper-class neighbourhood, and I just thought surely it would be an old part of town. Friends took me there one night, and I realised this was behind my neighbourhood. By then, I already realised my home was haunted, though we don't know why. It was not extremely old, but I wasn't crazy for knowing it was haunted, since years later a spiritualist bought it because she loved how active it was. I assume it was the area, the land, more so than the home. The night we went to the cemetery, we had hoped it was a full moon. It looked full, but it was actually the night before. It was fun to explore the older side of it late at night. A strange man pulled up with a flashlight and came out and told us to leave, that it wasn't safe. Oddly, he was rather hairy. His face and body were hairy. We giggled that maybe he was a werewolf and warning us since it wasn't actually a full moon. It wasn't so funny when 2 or 3 weeks later 3 men were murdered on Werewolf Lane. 2 bodies were found in the woods around the cemetery, and 1 more was found further down off that road across the highway. The police tried to say on the news that it was gang related. Really? On the south side of town where all the rich and well-to-do people live, the gangs don't even go to that part of town. I honestly believed it was a cover-up. Many others felt the same way. Also, there was an old buried body found when excavating for a church on that road on the other side of the highway as well. It's obvious that people have been killed there many times. Over the following years, I heard all of the rumours. If you stop on that road at night, turn off the car lights and throw a bottle out, it will get thrown back at you. I have had every person tell me that if I went to the cemetery and acted disrespectfully in any way, they end up hurt or something within 3 days to 3 weeks. Car accidents, jail time, or just plain bad luck. That also may just be rumours, but I've had something paranormal warn me here once too. I was taking 2 guys in college to that place in 2003 when we turned on the road and my CD cracked in my player. I've never had that happen before or since. I was playing type O negative and it cracked through 1.5 inches or so. It felt like a warning not to bring unbelievers there. Very spooky. Back to the beginning. I loved that cemetery. I fell in love with it. I didn't feel threatened there or in harm. I was drawn to it like a magnet. I was always an odd girl, preferred writing poetry and daydreaming in cemeteries versus shopping malls. I was sort of what you call goth. Many goths are all about makeup and popularity among like-minded people. I was more introverted and serious. It was truly on the inside. I always felt cemeteries were holy, pure, and more real than people understand. People today hide death, pretend it's not there, but that's not reality. Cemeteries are where people's souls are laid bare, tears flow, regrets poured out, and truth come to the surface. Materialism dies and bonds are realised. It is where love is most recognised and loss is at its deepest. I am pretty empathic. I have seen a few ghosts but mostly sense them and listen to them. Many spirits choose to stay in a cemetery because that's where their loved ones come to talk to them most. So they wait for them to come back again and again. Often, if they follow their relatives home, they see grief is more intense. So they respect the distance and wait. They also get to know other spirits and even go into deep sleep when no one has visited them for a time. I had one come to me in a dream and bitch me out because I woke her up. She was a grumpy sort. So I just stayed away from that corner of the cemetery. There are many plots that are empty and have no spirits left. So, as I said, I became attached. I went there during the day all the time for years. Always felt like something was watching me. More of a protective feeling. But it felt as if it didn't like many other people. My ex-husband, who was abusive, and many friends who just joked around, loud, rude, it seemed to give me a sense of anger from the Watcher. To be honest, many Native American legends, for some Apache, I think, to Mohawk legends, of protectors seem to be exactly how I took this energy. Something fierce, but only if necessary. For years, I saw nothing other than a strange ghost I seemed to attract home. My friends had seen it, myself and the cat. The cemetery on the old side had odd stones of iron ore, so old it had melted looks to them. They were not positioned in a fashion of modern stones. One area even seemed to be a design of the shape of a 5-rayed star or a stick figure. Too close together to bury people unless they were bundled up or buried vertically. That was extremely odd and suspicious. My father said he suspected it was a slave cemetery first, and I really got the impression it may have been Native American burial area before it became an official cemetery. Now, my first sighting near Lake Tyler was something extremely frightening. First off, this area has a lot of spooky rumours, a lot of unrest, Civil War battlegrounds, prison camps from the war, old plantation ruins. Just a very dark place in general. I have moved a lot growing up from southern Louisiana to West Texas. Been hunting and fishing all over the swamps, canyons, desert, mountains. But this place had a constant haze of negative energy, unlike anywhere I've ever been or since. I will not go back to this town. The first sighting was on a back road near Lake Tyler. I was letting my friend drive my silver 96 Camaro, as my best friend and I were talking and having a good time. This was in 2000. I was 19. We were both bored and had absolutely nothing to do, so we were driving around old blacktop roads that run through pastures and woods, teetering with the idea of shroom hunting. We thought it was an interesting idea, but we were more just driving around. We didn't want to get out on a pasture in the dark and end up getting chased by a bull, because you can't see anything. As we turned down one road, about 3 a.m, the guy driving didn't see it, but my best friend and I saw it as soon as we turned, and we screamed bloody murder for him to turn around, and he did a 180 so fast my car almost spun out of control. We were screaming and she seemed to be crying. and kept panicking, and he got so angry, like, "What the hell was wrong with y'all? I didn't see nothing." We had to calm down and tell him. It all happened so fast, but it's like when you had a car accident or near-death experience and everything seemed to be in slow motion because your mind is processing at lightning speed. I honestly just never thought I'd see anything like that in my lifetime. At the time I thought it was Bigfoot or some supernatural creature. I don't know to this day if it was a Bigfoot or a Dogman. It was so dark. The fear others explain with Dogman is what I felt that night. It was obviously hairy, covered in dark black hair, extremely tall. I've never seen a human at that height. I thought it was 9 feet, and it was angry. It was injured. It was dragging one leg, like it couldn't bend it, and only one eye was blinking and reflecting, as if the other eye was shut from the injury on the same side as the bad leg. The immediate thoughts in my head were either he was hit by a vehicle, so he was not happy to see us in another one, or that he was in a fight with another whatever he is, which means there are more out there in the darkness. Either way, get the hell out now. I did not get a good look at the details like a face, etc. It was so dark, and my car lights are low to the ground, but what really freaked me out was that huge eye reflecting blue. It was massive. When I saw it blink, and no other eye but that one, it was frightening. And it was bigger than any human eye, so you know for a fact it wasn't human. On 2 legs but dark hair from head to toe. I've heard people mention on Dogman Bigfoot shows the idea that often they get in fights when an alpha male kicks them out, and perhaps that's what's happened. I don't know. But its injuries seemed to make it so angry you could literally feel the hatred and anger radiating off of him, like it did not want to be bothered, but it was not about to move, of course. So we did. After that, we were of course more careful about going anywhere or doing anything late at night, especially near the lake. After that, I also knew things were out there. I knew of stories on the west coast, even Oklahoma. Back then, we didn't have YouTube to give us any ideas. I just had my experience to go by. It definitely changes you. I've always been open-minded about things. My father and grandparents have seen things that seem like UFOs, and my grandfather believes a Bigfoot slept on his property one night. That's a story all on its own. Having seen my first ghost in New Orleans by age of 8, I have never been skeptical of the unknown. Just never thought I'd see this too. Now for the second sighting. I know it was a Dogman. It was 2002, early spring or late winter, a sunny day. Although it seemed a bit overcast during the sighting, this was at the cemetery woods. I had been needing alone time and slipped off to my favourite meditation spot, the cemetery. There were woods on both sides. Across the streets, an overgrown field ran behind the cemetery. I crossed over the back cemetery fence to walk along the edge of the field and go to a hidden spot where I like to go. As I walked, I felt deep, heavy breath over my shoulder. Or so I thought. I swear, it was as if the beast was right behind me. But when I worked up the courage to turn around, after hearing it breathe 3 or 4 times, it was on the other side of the field. How? I could hear it huffing as it ran, but somehow felt like it was right there with me. It was huge, grey. It was a grey Dogman, or werewolf. It was called Werewolf Lane, after all. I just mesmerisingly stared as he ran. It was beautiful, yet fierce. He didn't seem ugly like in the movies. It was like a huge wolf with shoulders the size of a gorilla. Mouth open enough to see fangs. I swear, this thing could easily be 300 pounds. You will never see a wolf with muscles that large. It ran on all 4s, but appeared as if its upper body was built to be upright. It seemed content to let me see it and never attempted to cross the field. I was afraid to run, thinking that would trigger him to attack, and refused to look in its eyes as that also as a sign of challenging its authority. So I just turned and kept walking and acting like it wasn't a big deal. The breathing sound was gone. I looked back and it was gone. I knew I would have to eventually go back that way that I came, but I waited a bit and I was a bit scared. Yet I felt gratitude that this watcher finally revealed itself to me. Had I not been alone, I doubt he would have. The location was the future site of a new larger loop or highway, and now when I Google map the area, I see how its territory has slowly eroded away to less and less woods. Are they still there? Have they migrated away? Or are they a spiritual entity that can disappear at will? To this day, I wonder what it thought, what it wanted, and if it was protecting me, if it was the source of the murders in the past. Now we have moved out to Ouachita Mountains of western Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma. A hotbed for Bigfoot. It has been raining more than usual the last 2 days, with more to come. For the first time, my dogs were scared to go out back, and it wasn't the rain. They'd go in the front yard, and usually they love the rain. My daughter told me both of them at separate times would pass a certain point in the backyard, an odd behaviour we've never seen before. Then they pull back to go back in. She suspected a Bigfoot or something, as did I. So I went outside to check it out, and there was a faint stench of rotting meat. Nearly dark, I couldn't see anything in the overgrown fields or woods, but someday I may have a new story to tell. Sincerely, Angel. Wow, thank you so much, Angel. Absolutely wonderful report there that you've written up for us. Those encounters, I imagine, were terrifying but absolutely mesmerising, as you've described. Beautifully written. I can't thank you enough for putting so much time and effort on top of your job and being a single mum. Bless you. Guys and girls, let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please, of course, as ever, do like and share. If you haven't subscribed to DMT, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell and stay up to date with all DMT content. Remember, guys, above all, when you're out and about on a deep, dark night, keep your wits about you and your eyes open. And remember, be safe, not sorry.